And we're live. What is up, party people? In just a few moments, the Denver Broncos will reveal the official 24-25 NFL schedule and who the Broncos are facing, when they're facing them. We're going to break it all down right here on Sports Talk Denver. Super pumped. I've had this day circled on my calendar for a long time, and it's going to be a great night with all y'all because here in the Denver Sports Kingdom. We got the best commenters in the house. Very curious who's in the house, where are you watching from, what do you got going on, and how are you feeling? So I thought that I was going to have to stream this live schedule release from the urgent care because I've been out of the urgent care for 24 minutes. Just a great story that I'll tell as we're waiting a couple of seconds and you're telling me where you're watching from. So do you remember a couple weeks back, Jarrett Stidham had an awesome, our backup quarterback now, had an awesome episode on Meat Church on YouTube. And he made these really cool smash burgers and just seemed like an absolute baller. So I was like, dude, I need a blacktop grill like he has. So last weekend went out, got a blacktop grill, loving it. And I was cutting up sweet potatoes and I literally cut off like a massive chunk of my hand that would, it's so graphic that it would flag me on YouTube for being like too graphic. So I'm not even going to show it. But so I was in urgent care getting all this situated, but nothing could stop me from being here with all y'all tonight. And we're here. It's going to be a great night. We've had a bunch of leaks of what the schedule might look like. Be very interesting to see if those leaks are accurate or not. The leak I saw made me pretty nervous. There's a couple of rough stretches in there, so I'm very much hoping that the leaks are not accurate, but we are fixing to find out, as Gary Kubiak said. So who's here? Where are you watching from? Ooh, we got people all over the place. Look at, here we go. Oh, my mic's not working. Let's see, we got the mic, Wyoming. All right, so we got number two cheer. I'm not even gonna try to say it. We got Wyoming in the house. We got Montana in the house. Big Sky, Montana. We got Kansas, Iowa. Yes, fresh start. Absolutely. I'm feeling that for sure. And I'm sensing that just from tons of folks in Broncos country for sure. We got Colorado. Ooh, North Carolina. Calvin Lewis is watching from Mississippi. Love it. We got Utah. And Earth, awesome. Well, I'm hoping that this year is out of this world and so we're not watching from Earth because we're all so pumped. We got North Carolina everywhere, Pueblo, Florida, Rodney, my man, Michigan. I am a recent resident of Michigan. Grew up in Denver, Colorado. During COVID, my family and I moved to Michigan, and so that's the whole reason. If you're new to this channel, I started it was I missed talking Broncos every day at work with my boys. And so now I get to do it here. And we got, wrong mic input. Thank you. I got to fix that quick before this actually comes out. Let's see. Audio. You guys are too good. Look at this audio. And we got. Is this better? Is this better now? Better now? I'm hoping. And Curly, not only do you know Terrell Davis kind of, but you also know the game of streaming. So that's awesome. All right, I'm going to share my screen over. Oh, we got Thornton in the house. And we are going to switch on over here now because it looks like the Broncos are about to drop it on Twitter. Their social media crew is just killing it, and I'm expecting big things here. My favorite schedule reveal was a couple of years ago when they did the Office spoof, and that was awesome. So it'll be very interesting to see what they do here today. All right. Switch it to this view. Switch over to Twitter here. And we are a minute away. Can't wait. Literally can't wait. And we'll react in real time with all y'all as we see it and then break it down. Yeah, interesting to Adam Schefter tweeted out some stuff about how far we have to travel this year. So we'll look at that together, irregardless of like when we play, unless we do something where we go to the East Coast and chill out there and get the Jets game and the Tampa Buccaneers game at the same time. we are going to be logging quite a bit of flight miles. And so you kind of hope that that's evenly distributed and Bo Nix and crew don't have to do 2 long stints at once. Refreshing to Twitter to see. Oh, here we go. Is this it? I think this is.
What the hell is that?
Yes.
Hey, I'm Lewis Hamilton, and today I'm going to be helping the Broncos reveal their schedule by trying out food from the 2024
Ooh,
Broncos.
I like it. All right, Lewis Hamilton, food from our different opponents.
I don't believe in Indiana this is what they'll eat, but I guess this is a lot of ranch.
Wait,
I'm not
Colts?
big on ranch. There's no way that they're eating carrots down there.
Are we playing the Colts week 1? Everyone is saying we're playing Seattle week 1.
It's really good. Actually, that's really banging. Gosh darn it. What is a yinzer? Why are yinzer?
Okay, all right.
That's just mashed potatoes?
Steelers.
A yinzer's getting this in their town? This is so good. So here, this is a Creole dish. It smells and it tastes a little bit like something Roscoe would eat. Whew.
Okay, so that's the Saints.
Atlanta, I mean.
Are these in order or just random?
This is not good. This is Southern food. This is Southern's finest.
I would like this schedule if this is in order. I hope it's not just random.
That one's definitely the work, bud. What the hell is that? Oh, the texture. The texture's so slimy. It looks like something you see in the Matrix when they. It's like what you'd imagine they have in prison as prison food. Yeah. That one really offended me.
All right, avocado toast, Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, home game.
This is bomb.
A dog treats, dog pound. I like it.
Nah, leave that for Roscoe. I don't even think Roscoe's gonna like that, if I'm honest. Nah. Let's see what the chefs have cooked up.
KC barbecue trash. Absolute garbage right there.
Barbecue sauce.
No.
It's supposed to be spicy. It's not really spicy. Right, famous chili. I actually like it. I get the hype. This is actually okay. That avocado toast is so banging. I thought they were the chefs.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Is that real dog biscuit? Have you ever tried grits? It was like dog's puke.
Okay, so those were not in order. Here it is in order, though. So we'll have to look at this in a more friendly way. All right, so it looks like Seattle week 1, Pittsburgh 2, Tampa Bay 3. So, yeah, it looks like the leak was accurate. So we'll break this down here in 1 sec. Let this thing finish out playing. All right. Well, that yeah, what are y'all thinking about the schedule share there? Cards on the table. No clue who that dude was. So maybe someone in the comments can tell me who he was. I'm not really like a foodie, if you will. Liked the Office thing, including player. I liked Peyton Manning being in it. So a little bit underwhelmed by that. Let me know if I'm totally wrong and he's like a crazy famous dude. I should know who he is, but let's take a look at the schedule now in a more palatable way here. Trying to pull it up somewhere, and the leaks did seem to be accurate. So all the folks who kind of hate on leakers, it does seem as if leaks are indeed accurate at times. So I'm going to share again here. We'll take a look at the schedule, break it down week by week. All right. So here we go. So again, here it is, the leak. Man, I saw this at lunchtime today, so kind of crazy that it is just coming out. So the 2024 Denver Broncos schedule, we start the year going to the Seattle Seahawks. They are a team in rebuild mode with, a new coach. They're trying to rebuild that culture. That coach does have a history of turning defenses around. But I do like the fact that Bo Nix's first entrance into the NFL isn't going to be
at home, where I think the pressure is definitely ratcheted up and you feel like you got to perform, you don't want to get booed. I would have loved the storyline of beating Russell Wilson week 1, but I do think that's a lot to heap on uh, Bo Nix's shoulders to have that storyline, because if he wins, he's riding high, but if he loses, and even if it wasn't his fault, you're in big trouble there from a narrative standpoint. And I can just imagine the takes on Get Up and Stephen A. Smith and all the things he would say about how Sean Payton lost and all that. So I'm happy that Bo Nix gets to go there and to a place where that defense is really underperformed. And I think it's going to take some time there. So then week 2 is the game everyone has been talking about, and it does not seem as if it is a primetime game, which probably tells you that the Russell Wilson coming back to his old team is maybe more of a narrative that we think is huge and maybe the NFL doesn't think is huge. I like that that's not the Sunday Night Football game, because I think that also just ratchets down the pressure on Bo Nix. It is his home opener, so that does add a little bit of pressure. So what are you guys thinking about those first couple weeks there of the schedule? What are you thinking about starting the year off in Seattle and then our home opener being Pittsburgh? I think the crowd is just going to be absolutely lit. I think they're going to be into that for that home game. I think that might shed some light on what the NFL thinks about Pittsburgh Steelers. Seeing on here, people are still saying that that game still could be Sunday Night Football, so maybe it will be, and maybe that's a bigger storyline than I think. Yeah, Daniel Garcia, I kind of agree with you. I think compared to where it was with Peyton Manning being in it, or even just the one where they were delivering a memo throughout and our mascot was like delivering it, I thought that was a lot better than just a weird thing of a chef I'd never heard of. Like Chicago Bears did a schedule release a couple of years ago where they had the cast of the that TV show. I think it was called The Chef or something like that. They just called everyone chef. It was like The Bear, that's what it was called. And that was cool because like everyone had watched that on Hulu, but I didn't know who that guy was. So yeah, first, I guess, question to all y'all. How are you feeling about that schedule? Let's look a little further into it and what we got cooking on more portions of the schedule. So after that, so we're talking week 2, Steelers at home. Then we fly from Denver, Colorado, all the way to Tampa Bay, and we play the Buccaneers. You're already talking about going from Seattle all the way to Tampa Bay in the course of like 20 days. That's a lot of flight time, which I'm not crazy about. I do like that you're talking 2 of Bo Nix's first games are going to be against NFC opponents that it doesn't matter as much. Like those are that Seattle game is probably the most inconsequential game on your schedule because it doesn't weigh into the tiebreaker. You don't have to worry about beating other playoff teams. So I think that's good that we're playing a couple NFC opponents that if we drop away games against NFC, those don't weigh nearly as heavy as beating your AFC rivals at home. So that Steelers game has to be a win. So then we go to the Buccaneers. They just signed an aging wide receiver and Baker Mayfield. They're going to have to give him the bag. And I just don't believe in Baker. I think he's very similar to Russell Wilson. And so I think Sean Payton knows the weaknesses of somebody who's shorter and has to play outside the numbers. So I think Sean Payton and company can draw something up there. Then we go to the Jets. And now that's an important game because that's an AFC game. And unless, the Dolphins or the Bills run away with the division, that's a team, if Aaron Rodgers meets expectations, they're truly expecting to make the playoffs. And so you're going to need to go in and do business. I have a sneaky good feeling that they're going to drastically underperform. I watched Hard Knocks with them a couple of years ago, and we remember famously Aaron Rodgers made it through 9 seconds of a football game before he tore his Achilles. And he's probably been doing ayahuasca and darkness retreats, but I just don't think that he is going to perform at the level they have hopes for. And so I just hope the train is coming off the tracks there with the Jets, but anxious to see. I'm also not liking that in these first 4 games, we're going from literally one side of the country home to another side of the country home and then back. And so I'd be curious to see if Sean Payton has plans on like Do you just hang out in, do you go play this game and then go hang out in New York, or do some team building kind of stuff so that it saves mile time and saves flight times? Because you're talking, what Denver to somebody to look it up and hit me in the chat. What is DIA to New York or DIA to Tampa Bay? That's not an easy flight to do. So it'd be cool for a team building standpoint and just to save, 12 hours on a plane and all of that kind of stuff, and just what that does to your body and recovery. But the cool thing about the Denver Broncos, we went from being one of the oldest teams in football, who probably a big cross country flight weighs more on, to we're one of the younger teams now. And so maybe that's not as big of a deal when you're flying a private plane and you're not going through TSA security and all that kind of stuff. Also, hot take here. How safe are planes now, right? Like, do we even know, will the Broncos plane even make it there? All right. So then other thing I'm not crazy about these first 4 weeks is the Denver Broncos have a crazy advantage to playing at home in the month of September, because teams aren't able to do all the offseason workouts, and players come into the season not being in shape. We've just seen like Nikola Jokic get more and more in shape as the season goes on and as these playoffs go on. And so when you don't have that 52-80 advantage, and in the month of September, looks like we're only playing one home game, I feel like the NFL didn't really help us out there. They did help us out in giving us 2 games that if we lose them, we're not really drastically hurting our playoff chances there. So what do you guys think? Those first 4 weeks, how are those feeling to you? I'm going to hop over to the comments. We'll keep going. We got a super chat from Swag God Legend. Bo Nix and Sean Payton might be dating. Well, that certainly could be. I'm fond of both of them. And so, yeah, I think in all honesty, they have a crazy cool chemistry. I even was listening to a Bill Simmons podcast today where he was interviewing a national reporter who talked about like Sean Payton, his physical body language when he talks about Bo Nix is different, and he really is like in love. And so he got the guy that he wanted all along, and Bo Nix didn't fall to us. He got the guy he wanted, and he's thrilled with it. And I am too. Oh, great take, MLA. That same Bill Simmons podcast was talking about like the schedule release really doesn't matter, but what matters is climate. And so like if the Dolphins, who are a hot weather team, have to play in Buffalo the last week of the season, that's a big deal. Or if you're a cold weather team playing in Tampa Bay, that's a big deal. And the home team does things where they intentionally position the opponent's bench in the sun. And I think that was a big part of that 70-point blowout we had this year to the Dolphins, was our dudes were just not ready for that. And so I think that's a very, very, very smart take there, and really like that. Perfect. Let's dive back in here. But great take there. Let's dive back in. Sorry, these tabs are hard when you're driving alone. All right. So now all of our September games are over. We get to Sean Payton's month, which we should start calling Paytober instead of October. And Sean Payton is the winningest coach in NFL history in the month of October. So this is where we are hitting our stride. I think that isn't just a fluke. You don't pace all those other coaches just by accident. It is truly the fact that we've seen on Twitter this week, like all the Orlovsky, others like breaking down Sean Payton's playbook, and the chapter of third down plays alone is like as big as a Harry Potter novel or something like that. And so the fact is that the team doesn't have it installed by September, and by October they're hitting their stride, and you see a noticeable bump. So let's dive into the month of October, which is what Payton is going to roll. So here we go. We go home to open against the Oakland, Los Angeles, Las Vegas. Where are they? They're the Las Vegas Raiders. Absolute win there, right? No doubt. I love this. The Raiders have Gardner Minshew as their starting quarterback. 2 of their past first-round draft picks have been on tight ends, and you got an aging wide receiver who Pat Surtain has just owned. And so I feel very, very good about this. One of the streaks that Sean Payton needs to break is our losing streak to the Vegas Raiders. It's embarrassing at this point how many times in a row we've lost to the Raiders. And I think that changes here. And I like that it comes after this. And so the first home game, like in division, first home game there, We go from there to the San Diego, Los Angeles Superchargers. This is a home game. A lot of people, even who comment on videos here, I know my name is Jeff. I don't know, is his handle, was at that. And I love watching Chargers games because the stands are full of orange and blue. And so we go from the Raiders to the Chargers. So we got AFC divisional games back to back. This is going to be a crucial stretch, but it's when Sean Payton should be hitting his stride. So then we go back to New Orleans, and that is where Sean Payton obviously cut his teeth in coaching. There's a little rivalry brewing there. You even heard the current New Orleans coach talk about how kind of be salty about Sean Payton and make a joke when he was talking about Taysom Hill. Like the New Orleans reporter asked him, "Hey, do you think you're going to re-sign Taysom Hill, or is he going to go to the Denver Broncos?" And he said, "Well, Sean seems to be stealing all of our other guys." But I think this is a homecoming for Sean, but then there's at least 10 players on the Broncos who are from New Orleans. But that's a Thursday night game in New Orleans. And so that Mardi Gras crowd is going to be off the chain. They're going to be loud. And just like we saw when former coaches have come back here and coached, like there's a different level of energy there. Thursday night football. So this is the first one, like without Sunday ticket or something. If you're living out of market, this might be the first game you get a chance of watching. And I think the disadvantage there is that there's a home teams win at a little higher percentage on Thursday night than they do in the regular season. So that could be tough. But the thing I like about this is the Denver Broncos record last year when they traveled east on those 11 o'clock start times were abysmal. They just played horribly. The time change difference in the jet lag and all that kind of stuff. And even players like chalked up part of that Miami loss last year where they scored 70 points on us to the fact that it was an 11 o'clock start game and they went to the Dolphins. So I like, hey, if we're going east, don't play it at 11 o'clock. And we know we won't be doing that. And so I think that's a very good thing. And from there, you get a little mini bye, right? So we're done Thursday night. We come back home to the worst team in football, Bryce Young, who's very, really drastically underperformed. And people already last year were saying he was a bust, even though he's a generational talent coming into the draft, which should have us feeling good about Bo Nix, because people saying generational talent, very rarely are they actually. And so we get this little 10-day rest here, and we're coming back home for our easiest game on the schedule. And so I think that is going to be a great thing for us that you're talking. Definitely that's going to be a win. Hopefully a time to, get right. Just fast forward and ahead. We have a crazy late bye week. I don't ever remember my entire history of the Denver Broncos waiting till week 14. We can talk about the merits of an early bye or a late bye. I don't love it being week 14, but I do like that we get a little 10-day mini bye right here before we play the easiest game on our schedule. And so let's toss it over, hop back in the chats and see what my man. Thank you for being a great YouTuber. I appreciate you. I appreciate you and Bo Nix and Sean Payton dating. We heard it here. What are we thinking about that 4-game stretch there? The we go month of October. Do we think that's going to be a tough stretch? And we're going to do an official prediction game by game here in just a second. But yeah, we're thinking I think that is probably our easiest stretch in that we get home games, easy away games against the Chargers. If we swept the Chargers last year, what are we going to do to them this year when they literally like mortgaged every piece of offensive talent that they had? I just think a sweep of the Chargers is going to happen this year. And I think truly a sweep of the Raiders is going to happen too. They came out and balled out of control for their coach who they wanted. And then you saw like Max Crosby kind of hold that entire franchise hostage to rehire that coach. And rarely does that go well. And so I think a sweep of the Raiders is very probable. I won't say it's a guarantee, but I definitely think that home game we beat the Raiders. So it looks like 4-hour flight from Denver out to Tampa, or Denver to New York sounds about right. So yeah, if you just stayed out there, you're saving yourself 8 hours of flight time, and I think that's a great thing. Cool. All right, let's let's hop back in. All right, so then week 9 at the Ravens. I've thought at Ravens and at Bengals, probably the hardest games on our schedule. Joe Burrow's the truth. We've always struggled with the Ravens. I remember the Raheem the Dream Moore play when Joe Flacco beat us and they went on and won the Super Bowl. We actually beat the Ravens in Baltimore that year. And so it's not that improbable. We beat them before we lost to them in the playoffs. So it's not like we never win there, but I think that's going to be a tough game there. I do like it that it's coming off the Panthers, and hopefully we just mollywop the Panthers and are feeling good about ourselves, and then we play here. So from at Ravens to at Chiefs, and this is the first time we will see Patty Mahomes and we'll see Taylor, I'm sure. Do you think they'll still be together? Let me know in the chat. Do you think Taylor and Travis will still be together by week 10? I think there's no way. I think Taylor will dump him. He's going to get with Ciara, and it's going to be magical, and no judgment there. So then this is going to be at Chiefs. So looking at this right away, this is probably our hardest 2-game stretch. Seeing several away games in a row so far on our schedule, which is going to be very tough. So we go from there to playing the Falcons at home week 11. That was a game I was actually hoping the Broncos would start with. I think the Kirk Cousins Penix thing is going to be a bigger deal than folks think. And that Falcons defense is hot garbage. And they could have, instead of drafting a 24-year-old quarterback, when you owe Kirk Cousins for the next 4 years, they could have had the best defensive player in the draft with tons of needs all over that. And they didn't. And so I think that was a big mistake. And I think we'll just feast on the Falcons in week 11. Then we go to Vegas Raiders. And so then that'll be a raucous crowd for sure. But like I said, I don't have a ton of faith in the Raiders. And I definitely think the Denver Broncos are a better team than them. And I mean, we almost beat them with Stidham, and I'm very confident that Bo Nix is a much, much better quarterback. So then we go our first true primetime game is against Deshaun Watson and the Browns. So that's a home game. I envision us wearing either the new all dark, with dark pants, dark tops, and then those metallic helmets. That could be sick. Or do we go with the throwbacks on there? But we got Jerry Jeudy coming back to town. I really think that while that defense is formidable, Myles Garrett may be suspended for swinging his helmet at someone by there, or Deshaun Watson might continue to underperform. We know Jerry Jeudy is an absolute diva and wants the ball and is not a team first guy. And so I think I just cannot wait to hear Mile High, his first drop. I think it's going to go nuts. So we go, the nice part here is you got an 8-day rest right there between at the Raiders, and then you have 8 days of recovery before you play a big Monday Night Football game. So then we go the latest bye that I can ever remember. Maybe somebody in maybe someone in the chat can tell me, have the Denver Broncos ever had a later bye than that? Do I sports bet? No, I don't sports bet. Here's the deal with me. I am such a diehard Denver Broncos fan, and I think I saw someone in the chat who's in my fantasy league, and it's a fantasy league with dudes from all over the country. I'm such a diehard Denver Broncos fan that I almost would bet us every single game. And I talk myself into winning so much that I wouldn't even have a home right now. I would just have a little scrap of clothing over top of me. So I don't sports bet just because I just get way too into the Broncos. And I have Javante's on my fantasy team, Cortland, Jerry, although it's kind of nice that I have these guys who then move on from us, because then I have other teams represented. But I see the world too much through orange and blue, and so I don't sports bet. But if I did, I would have made a killing during that Peyton Julius run, because that was the year I won my fantasy league. All right, so then looking in here, let's keep diving back in. So others are there too that you just talk yourself up every week. And the fun part about the NFL is that there is such just a drastic every team is just right there, and it comes down to coaching every week. And that's why we got to feel good about having the richest owner in sports who will throw money at any problem, invent new positions. We invented that new scout who's the guy who went it out and actually found Vele and had us draft him at the 7th round. We got Leonard in on a new position. We got passing coordinator now. So the NFL, it's not like the NBA where if you don't have a Nikola Jokic or a LeBron James, you're not going to win. The NFL, everyone is so evenly matched talent-wise that it comes down to who is the better coach, and you got to feel good about Sean Payton. And even national media say that. We saw Dick Vermeil and a couple others this week even say that they think Sean Payton and Andy Reid are the best offensive coaches in the league and some of the best in the history of the league. So I think that's a really good thing there. Awesome. Let's keep diving in here. So we're at week 14. I mean, what do we think about that bye week? I think the good part about that bye week is that if we are making a playoff push and a playoff run, and like, let's say, I think the best case scenario is we somehow end up with the AFC West and, we get a bye week 1. I think that's not realistic. I think the realistic thing is the Chiefs win the division and we get that wild card spot, which means we're playing right away. And so having a bye week in week 14 means that, some of these teams, I think the first bye week is week 5. And so you're talking, they've been going months and months without a rest, and we're getting our rest late. And I think looking at how our schedule plays out after that, I think that'll be a crazy advantage to go into those last meaningful games with rested legs. So let's look at what those are. And man, I think this is actually setting up perfectly for a playoff push here. So our last 4 here, week 15, we host the Colts. So that is going to be a crucial game there because it's a home game against an AFC Western opponent. I love the fact that we are getting them off of a bye. It gives you a chance to prepare for Anthony Richardson, who's probably going to be running a much different offense than other offenses that we'll face that year, maybe similar in the Ravens here. But I'm not seeing a ton of like crazy mobile quarterbacks who you have to worry about the run more than you have to maybe old Deshaun. You used to have to worry about that. But I like playing the Colts in a really meaningful game. If we're going to make the wild card, we've got to take care of business here at home against the Colts. Then we go at Chargers. Like I'd said earlier, that's definitely essentially a home game right there. And then we are going to go to the Bengals. I think that's one of the toughest games on our schedule. I guess you could say playing Burrow week 17. Big hope would be he has been very injury prone. And so I guess the hope would be that it's Jake Fromm again, or the other thing, like, could they somehow run away with the division and be in such a good place that they are resting some starters then? And then we end the season against the Chiefs there at home. I think the fact that NFL did that, like they gave us a competitive push here, which makes me feel like the NFL doesn't think we're only going to win 5 games because those are all opponents. Like all of these teams made the playoffs last year, which means NFL wants them to be in meaningful games so that they can have them on TV, right? And so I think this shows that if whatever the Vegas prediction of the Denver Broncos winning 5.5 games, NFL's like, well, they're scheduling good opponents at the end of the year because they want TVs like getting pumped up, and they don't want a 1-14 team playing against these playoff teams. I said all of them made the playoffs last year. Who am I kidding? We know the Chargers haven't made the playoffs since 9/11, like the actual 9/11. They haven't made it in forever. Awesome. Let me keep going through. Oh, here we go. We got Alaska in the house, and you're going to week 12 at the Raiders. Yeah, I'm trying to think when I'm going to get home because I definitely got to get to a game this year. So I'm trying to look when those are and when I can actually get home and see it. But I've got to go there. Also, I need the Broncos to announce whether or not the training camp is actually going to happen publicly this year. I know there's a bunch of renovations scheduled on UC Training Center, and I just need to know, like, is it going to be open? Because I'm coming home to go to training camp and be on the hill with all y'all. All right, so let's go through. We'll go 4-week chunks just to make it easy, and let's let's do our like way too early. I mean, this is before training camp, before seeing the quarterback battle, all that. Let's do our predictions of wins and losses. We got upstate New York in the house. While I take a drink, what other questions do I have about you? What do we all think? What toughest stretch of the schedule? What do you guys think? Perfect. All right, let's dive in. 4 games at a time. 5 to 9 wins this season. I've been saying, like, before the schedule was released, I think our floor is 7 games, and I think our ceiling is like 10 or 11. I just find it really hard to find where we got worse this year. I don't think Sean Payton thinks that Bo Nix is an improvement over Russell Wilson, and there's just no doubt in my mind about that. And everyone's been saying like that Bo Nix would have to have a CJ Stroud like performance to get the Broncos to the playoffs, but we won 8 games last year with Russell Wilson. So the year before, CJ Stroud showed up in Houston, they were the worst team in the league and should have lost their last game and ended up firing Lovie Smith, which made them the second to worst team in the league. But truly, the CJ Stroud thing, he took the worst team in the league and bumped them up to making the playoffs. All Bo Nix has to do is take an 8-win team and bump them up to a 10-win team, and we make the playoffs. Like, all Bo Nix needs to do is beat a horrible New England Patriots team at home on Christmas Eve, and we're in the playoffs. All he has to do is, he's got 1st and goal from the 5-yard line in Houston. All he has to do is punch it in one time, and we're in the playoffs. All we have to do is make some kicks against the Raiders, and we're in the playoffs. So I don't think the CJ Stroud thing is that accurate, because we were a good team. And you take away that 70-point meltdown we had against the Dolphins, and we are a good defense. And I think we improved on defense. And I definitely think our offense is night and day difference. And we'll dive into that a little bit more here as well. So yeah, let's go through and we'll just go in 4-game chunks so that we can add them up here. Make sure I'm still shared. Can we see that there? Do I need to make it a little bigger like this? No, just clicking all the buttons. There we go. I should have had that way the whole time. Thanks, y'all, for sticking with us. All right, so let's look here. Week 1, Seahawks, Steelers, Bucks, Jets. I think Seahawks is a win. I don't feel like that's a homer take. I even think the line will be like, maybe the Seahawks are favored by 2 or 3, but they have to form so much about their new identity. I think that's a win. Week 2 against the Steelers, that gives Sean Payton, Vance Joseph, that gives them a week to see what type of offense is Russell Wilson running with the Pittsburgh Steelers and game plan. The other reason I didn't want the Steelers right off the bat is that when it's a team and a new quarterback and a new system that you haven't prepared for, they can sneak up on you. That's why, Russell Wilson in his first game against Seattle, he threw for like 300, 400 yards. Like, I think that still is the most he ever threw for, even with Nathaniel Hackett. So I like that we're playing the Steelers at home. I think that's going to be the loudest crowd we have had at home in a long, long, long time. Maybe since Trevor Siemian, after the Broncos won the Super Bowl that next year. I bet you that's the loudest it's been since then. So I think we start the season 2-0. I think the Buccaneers, and Jets, I say we split that. So I think after the first 4, we are 3-1. So I'm just going to keep track here on my phone just so I don't forget what my final prediction for this is. So first 4, I think we are 3-1. My hope would be like we beat the Seahawks, beat the Steelers, and then like let's drop one to the Bucks. That's fine. They're out of division. And then let's beat Aaron Rodgers. Let's prove that Nathaniel Hackett was a clown show. And you even see reports this week come out that the New York Jets were trying to get a coach above Nathaniel Hackett. They couldn't fire him. There'd be way too much hot takes in there, and Aaron Rodgers wouldn't let them fire him because he's Aaron Rodgers' boy. But what Aaron Rodgers could cover over for Nathaniel Hackett when he was at his prime is going to be very different than when he's a vice presidential candidate with a torn Achilles. And I just don't think he has the same chutzpah he did. So I'm saying 3-1. We beat the Jets. We beat the Steelers. We beat the Seahawks. What are you all thinking there? First 3-1. Then we're going Raiders win. We're 4-1. Chargers win 5-1. At Saints, I think that's going to be a hard game right there. Thursday night, you're at a disadvantage. So I think we drop one to the Saints. And so I think you are 5-2. We then have a mini bye for the easiest game. I think we're going to see Zach Wilson here because we're going to be up so big on the Panthers that we're just going to be like, Bo, take the fourth quarter off. You deserve it. So I think we win that as well. So we are now at 7-2. At Ravens, at Chiefs. Just if I'm being realistic, I think those are 2 losses right there. So I think we're 7-4. Come back home for the Falcons. I'm going to predict we beat the Falcons. So we are 8-4. And then Raiders 9-4. Browns, I think is a hard game. I think there are definitely worlds where it's an easy game with Deshaun falling off the tracks or whatever. But as the Browns are currently constructed, if Deshaun makes it, if Deshaun's healthy, I think realistically I think that was the best defense in football last year. You saw it. I mean, they went from the Pastronaut they had the Pastronaut. No, they had that one guy with the rocket arm who was like amazing, who had weird initials. But they went from him to Joe Flacco and still made the playoffs. So I think that's realistically a loss. So 13? So that's 9-6 right there. Does that equal 13? No, 9. That equals 5. Well, is someone keeping track of my math here? What are we at? So we got 3-1, 4, 5, 5-2, 6-2, 6-3, 6-4, 7-4, 8-4, 8-5. Right there is what I'm predicting at week 13. Then a bye. 9-5, we beat the Colts. 10-5, we beat the Chargers. We lose to the Bengals as currently constructed. So we're talking 10-6. And then we beat the Chiefs at home, whether or not they're resting guys because they've already made the playoffs. And so right there, we are at 11 wins. And I just don't think, oh, there we go. There it is. DTR. That's what the initials were. It's like something Detorian Robinson or something like that. But yeah, he was crazy. So yeah, my official way too early prediction is that the Denver Broncos with this schedule are going to be 11-win team. Is that like absolute craziness or am I onto something? Obviously that would shock the NFL. That's 5.5 games more than Vegas has us predicted to win right now, but I'm feeling very hopeful about it. I just think and I know all we have to look at right now is the fact that we just dominated rookie minicamp, but I think that Sean Payton culture continues into this upcoming offseason. And if anything, it doesn't just continue, it just gets deeper and more established. That I think the absolute linchpin and what made me jump on the Sean Payton bandwagon, made me start this channel in the month of October, was the fact that Bears game. Do you guys remember we had just lost? We just let the Miami Dolphins drop 70 points on us. Pat McAfee was on there talking about how we were going to fire our defensive coordinator. Everyone was saying like, will Sean Payton even make it through the year? And then we went to the Chicago, and more is coming out about what a train wreck Chicago was, and that Justin Fields wasn't coachable and all of that. And we were down 28-7 at halftime against Chicago Bears. And I feel like a Fangio-led Broncos team, a Nathaniel Hackett Broncos team, even a Vance Joseph coached Broncos team, all of them would have folded then. You would have seen them making business decisions, not hitting, not laying the wood when they came to it. And we bounced back and we won. And from there, we beat the Packers, who made the playoffs. We went on a 5-game win streak where we beat teams that we had no business beating, according to the national media. And that just showed me that this Sean Payton culture is legit. And the reason that he was so frustrated and blew his lid on Russell Wilson was the fact that he saw what his culture could do and what his scheme could do, and that he didn't have the quarterback to do it. And so I don't think 11-win season, that was the ceiling I had. And it's crazy to look at that and say that I think it's legit. Week 7 through 10. Yes, that Saints Yep. The only easy game in that week 7 through 10 stretch is really that Panthers game. And I think that's going to be our easiest game of the year. You could see that being like silly time that obviously the Panthers loaded up and tried to do things to help. But we even heard Peyton Manning just talk about how hard it is for Bryce Young, and that having all these different offensive coordinators, even in your first year, that's a really tough thing. And so that's going to continue for them. They got Josie Jewell. So we got a Josie Jewell homecoming. I'm curious, Seattle as an opener. I've never been well, I guess I've been to California, but I've never really been to anywhere in that area. I'm curious how far Seattle is from Oregon, like where he played, and is that part of the reason they should is that part of the reason they schedule Bo Nix there? Is they think that's kind of a homecoming game, and will he have fans in the stands? I truly don't. They could be crazy far away, and I'm a dummy for even saying that, but I'm curious how far that is. Yeah, hearing you don't have an opinion yet, totally cool there. I think something else I wanted to show here real quick that I thought was crazy interesting here is this is showing how many time zones a team has to jump. I talked about how hard that is for the Denver Broncos to jump to the Eastern time zone, going from Denver and playing a 2:00 game to all of a sudden you're playing at 11 a.m. after a long flight. So here we are. The Denver Broncos this year, they're, they're still higher on that list of how far they have to fly. Read a really interesting article just about like the total mileage on a team actually like really, really does impact their win-loss. So amazing to see so many AFC teams on here because that's really good for us. So looking here that the Chargers, who I think are going to have a tough rebuild ahead of them. I am a Harbaugh fan. Living, now that I live in Michigan, like I just kind of, it's on TV all the time. So I do think he's a good dude, but he's going to have an uphill rebuild there. And now he's got to fly 27,000 miles. Like that's a lot of time. And then he's got to jump 36 time zones from LA. And then you don't have a home crowd. They are renting a stadium from someone else. They don't have like even Herbert there. I bet Herbert could walk into a Walmart and people wouldn't know who he is, where we all know Bo Nix. That's our team. And there's so much you can do in California. There's the Lakers, the Clippers, the Golden State Warriors. Like you have so much there's celebrities walking around everywhere. They don't even drink real water. They just drink bottled water. That's a fact. Someone look it up. They're just so snooty. They just drink bottled water and kombucha. I don't even know what kombucha is, but it sounds delicious. So the fact that, our division rival has to fly more than anyone else, great news. I think we're going to sweep them anyways, and that's even better. And then looking Miami, again, we want our goal in all of this. And as we're going to have other videos breaking this down, but what we want is we want the division leaders in the AFC to run away with the division. We want everyone else to beat each other up and be really bad. So we need to pick, do we want Buffalo to win that division or Miami, and then let everyone else lose? And so I like here, let's root for Buffalo, Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen, and let's hope Miami flames out and Tua's not good and all that kind of stuff, and we get revenge on them for that 70 burger they dropped on us. So that's good that they're here. Looking at the Vegas Raiders, they're flying all over, so that's really good here. And then we drop down, and here we are at 19,000 miles, 24 time zones. Kind of a stinky situation here that the Kansas City Chiefs do not have to fly nearly as much as us. Part of that is due to probably them getting preferential treatment from the NFL for sure. But then part of it's also due to the fact that they're more centrally located. So, when they fly to an away game, it's not as far as us. They got to go to the East Coast too, but they're just more in the middle of the country. So that's easier for them. So then looking here, I thought this was really interesting in looking at the traveled miles year over year difference. And looking here, the Denver Broncos actually are flying 260 less miles. So I think that's a good thing. Whereas you look at, we got Jacksonville. That's a really good thing. We want Jacksonville to be bad. And then Chicago, that's good. Where are the Chargers on here? So yeah, look, oh my goodness, the Chargers are flying 5,000 more miles over this year. And how about the Chiefs? Oh, and look, the Chiefs, I wonder if part of that is due to the fact that they are did they have a overseas game last year that they don't have to have this year? That could be that. Um, so yeah, so I'm saying my official prediction, 11 wins for the Broncos. I do think one of the things that I'm going to do a video about, maybe even tonight, if my hand heals up. If you're just joining us, I was hospitalized and sliced off part of my hand, but I made it here because y'all are my favorites. One of the things that's really important in a schedule is who played the team you're playing the week before and who are they playing the week after you, because there are times, even with that Chiefs game that we won last year, people were saying that the Chiefs had the hardest stretch of their season right after they played us. And so they kind of were looking ahead to that. And that's just them kind of trying to make an excuse for why we just handed Patrick Mahomes his lunch. But it does matter. And, that Panthers game is the easiest game on our schedule. It would be easy to look ahead to that hard Ravens game and not take the Panthers seriously. Likewise, if you come off a brutal trip and you've just flown cross country, or you've just played, the Browns, and they're a really good defense, and you got guys dinged up. And so I want to do a game by game breakdown and actually look at teams and who they played before us and who they're playing after us. And that might, who knows, if the Ravens have a super tough game before us, that might swing how I feel. Or games I said were layups, if that team had a bye week right before us, that changes that. But yeah, tell the hand story. All right, I'd love to. So long story short, I bought a blacktop grill because Jarrett Stidham has one. And I just love him. Think he's got so much swag, and I wish we got him a year before and gave him the quarterback reins ahead. And so I'm like, dude, I need a blacktop grill. And then I've started liking grilling things on that blacktop grill. And so I was gonna make some sweet potatoes. My wife has this thing called a julienne, and it looks like a guillotine. Should have been my first warning. My second warning to not use it should have been that my wife said, be careful on it, because she's cut her fingers a bunch, and it just lets you slice things really quickly. And I was doing it too quickly, and I was slicing sweet potatoes, and I was listening to a podcast, prepping for this, and I just went down and it sliced off. And now we're towards the end of the stream. So even if YouTube says it's too graphic, it's all right, well, and this was my hand about 20 minutes before I went live right there. And then here was my chunk of skin on the counter, and it looks like a piece of meat, which I guess makes sense. So that's a hand story, but I was here for all y'all, so that's what matters. All right, any last questions for y'all? It's been a blast this whole off season. This is supposed to be the dead time, and I haven't even done Nuggets videos or anything else because I've been having so much fun. It feels like the tides are turning. I think you all are here for that as well. I will definitely, yes, stay away from the sweet potatoes. That is the lesson I took. Stay strictly to normal potatoes that I get at Arby's. Yeah, it definitely feels like the tides are turning around here. The vibes are immaculate, and I think we are in for a great year. And the greatest part is that we got a bunch of other people here, and we like talking Broncos. It's a great distraction from hand slicing or hard things going on in life. It's fun to have something like that we can rally behind, and it's way more fun to do it together with all y'all than to just be by myself in Michigan, missing Broncos country a lot. So any questions, anything like that? Otherwise, we will get out of here and catch everybody else. Did I have any questions for you? Well, you are truly the best fans in the game. And I was on the Reddit thread of different fandoms, and it's even though we haven't made the playoffs in 8 years, we're the 9th highest football fan base, according to Reddit posts. And I just think this is going to hit, and Denver is going to be redeemed as a football city. And it's amazing to watch the Denver Nuggets win, but it's going to be even better to watch the Denver Broncos be back and better than ever. So thanks for being here. Also, help me come up with a better catchphrase than giddy up. I've been told that way too often, giddy up sounds like Broncos country, let's ride. And I don't want to do that. And so if anyone has any suggestions, comment on any video, I'm up for it. I've even used Chat GPT to kind of come up with some others, and none of them have been that great. My man, we are going to pay back Seattle for sure. So if anyone has cool catchphrases for me, thank you so much. All the watchers, likers, subscribers, all you guys, we will catch you very, very soon. And Broncos country, giddy up.